Hey guys, today we're going to start looking at applying systems of equations. So our steps or our flow will be first, identify your variables, next, write your system, third, solve the system, and fourth, use the solution to answer the question. So pause the video and jot these steps down. Now that you have your flow or your process, let's actually look at some examples. Now, to get full credit, you have to copy the entire problem. It's absolutely necessary so you'll have a good resource to look back at. If you just have answers, you're not going to know what you're looking at. So now let's see how this actually works. When you're writing systems, you're looking for relationships. So if you'll remember, when we talked about relationships, like we talked about slope-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b, or standard form, ax plus by equals c. You're going to start to see that a lot when we're writing these systems. So keep that in the back of your mind as we're doing this. You'll see the connection. Look at number 1. Let's look for some relationships. Ricky has a prepaid cell phone. Last week, Ricky made 4 calls and sent 20 text messages, which cost him $4. This week, he made 10 calls and sent 5 text messages, which cost him $5.50. Write a system describing the number of calls, C, look at that, they helped us with our first step, calls, C, and the number of text messages, T, that Ricky made over the past 2 weeks. So they gave us our, they gave us our variables, C for calls, text messages, or T. Now let's write our system. Let's look for those relationships. Ricky, okay, so in the first week, he made 4 calls and 20 text messages, and it cost him $4. So that's that first week's relationship. See how it kind of looks like standard form? Now let's find the next relationship. This week he made 10 calls and he sent 5 text messages and it cost him $5.50. So that is how you write a system of equations. I'm not going to solve these, so right now we just want to practice writing these systems. Take a look at number 2. A group of 28 people attended the field trip. The number of teachers on the field trip was 20 less than the number of students. Write a system that describes the number of teachers, C, number of teachers, T, and the number of students, S, that went on the trip. So they were nice enough to identify our variables for us. Now let's write the system. So let's look for these relationships. A group of 28 people attended the field trip. Well, that's your total. But what type of people? You had teachers and you had students, however many teachers, however many students, for a total of 28. Now let's look at the next relationship they give us. The number of teachers on the field trip was 20 less than the number of students. 20 less than the number of students. So if you look, the first one kind of looks like standard form, and the second one looks like slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So that's kind of the thought process that we use to write our system. Let's try one more. On your practice, you're going to see some multiple choice stuff, so here's how you tackle that. Mr. Newman bought 8 tickets to a chili supper and spent a total of $30. He bought a combination of adult tickets for $5 and child tickets for $3 each. Which system below will determine the number of child tickets, C, and the number of adult tickets, A, that he bought? So they identified our variables for us. So let's look at the 2 relationships. I noticed they talk about the number of tickets and the amount of money spent. So when we talk about the number of tickets, we have adult tickets and child tickets for a total of 8. So adults plus children tickets equals 8. Now let's look at the money. how much did each adult ticket cost? Adult tickets were $5 per ticket. How much were children's tickets? They were $3 per however many children's tickets. And what was our total amount of money? $30. Okay, so I wrote that. Now I go through my choices and see which one is correct. So look at A. They have 8 times A plus 5 times C equals 30. Like, I don't even know where they got that. They added, I guess, the 5 and the 3. So that one's just completely off. Look at B. A plus C is 8. They got that right. And then 3A plus 5C equals 30. They mixed up the cost of the adult tickets and the child's tickets. So that's what made that wrong. Look at C. They said 5 times A, that's right, adult tickets are $5, plus 3 times C equals, they said equals 8. That's the total number of tickets, not the amount. So you want to make sure things match up. But let's try D, because E, none of the above, is also a choice. So we just don't want to automatically choose D. D has 5 times A plus 3C equals 30. They match that up, and A plus C equals 8. Good. So your answer here is D. So that's how you actually write the system. Now let's answer some questions with systems. Look at number 4. Jose bought 9 movie tickets for a total of $54. Adult tickets cost $8 each. Child tickets cost $3.50 each. Here's the question. How many adult tickets did he buy? I always read the first time looking for the question. Like up here, it says write a system. Down here, this has a specific question. So read first, looking for the question. Now, it looks to me like we're talking about adult tickets and child tickets. When I just have to solve the problem, I use X and Y for my variables, because when you graph it on the calculator, you get an X and a Y, not an A and a C. That can get confusing. So I'm going to say X is my number of adult tickets and Y is my number of child tickets. It doesn't matter what you say your X and your Y are, just write down what you want them to represent. If you don't, you're going to get confused at the end. Okay, so looks like he's talking about number of tickets and money. So how many tickets did he buy altogether? 9. So adult and child tickets, total number is 9. Now it looks like they bring in money. How much was each adult ticket? $8. $8 per adult ticket times how much was each child's ticket? $3.50 times Y equals, what was the total dollar amount? $54. So now that I have written my system, just a reminder, I'm going through this flow. I identified my variables, I wrote my system. Now I'm going to solve my system. So I'm going to go over to Desmos. That's our go-to calculator. It's easy, it's available, that's why I like Desmos. So my first equation was X plus Y equals 9. Let me double check that. Yep. And then 8x plus $3.50 times Y equals, let me go back and make sure it's 54. Yep. Equals 54. Okay. So now I want to find my point of intersection. And my point of intersection is 5, 4. 5, 4. So I found my solution. And again, I'm looking at these steps. I solved the system. Now I want to use the solution to answer my question. The question said, how many adult tickets did he buy? I said adults were represented by the X. My X value here is 5. So my answer is 5 adult tickets. Let's try this one more time. So a group of 48 senior citizens attended a baseball game. the number of women in attendance was 12 more than the number of men. Here's my question. How many men and how many women attended the baseball game? All right. So it looks to me like I'm going to have to go through my steps. Step 1, identify your variables. So the question says how many men and how many women. So I use my question to help me identify my variables. Next, let's find and write our system. A group of 48 senior citizens attended a baseball game. The number of women was 12 more than the number of men. So first, I think they give us a total. Men and women, because it says a group of 48, that's my total number of men and women. But then it says the number of women in attendance, wise women, was 12 more than the number of men. So y equals men plus 12, or x plus 12. Next, I want to solve my system. So I'm going to use Desmos to graph that. My first equation is x plus y equals 48. X plus y equals 48. Boom. And next is y equals x plus 12. Y equals x plus 12. So now I want to find my solution, which is 1830. 1830. Now, I said my x represents the number of men and my y represents the number of women. That's what I identified right here. So I have 18 men. So A is out, B is out, C is out because it says 30 men. Now D says 18 men and it does have 30 women. So your answer is D, 18 men and 30 women. So be sure that you use your notes to help you on your practice, and I'll talk to you guys soon.